I'm originally from New York, so I started listening to him when I was in about 8th grade when he was on WNBC in New York. And then I moved down here about 5 years ago, and I was real excited when I heard he was coming down to be on Richmond radio.
About October 4th, he came over the airwaves in the morning, and I happened to be driving a carpool and had a van full of children and was just skimming through the radio and came across his broadcast and about drove the car off the road.
When he came on the air here in Richmond, I mean, I listened to him pretty much every day. Whether I was working the day shift, I'd listen to him at work. If I was working the night shift, I'd get off at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd start listening to him and listen to his whole show before going to bed.
As the days rolled on, Richmond became divided on the Stern issue. Citizens for Better Broadcasting, a neighborhood group formed to remove Stern from the airwaves, increased their activity and began monitoring Stern's program and sending excerpts to advertisers.
One of them was, get off the phone, bitch, get off the phone. Can you lay on the floor and get naked and put your legs over your head and lick yourself? Exact quote. I might be off a word or two. And, people just would look at me and say, you're not allowed to say that on the airwaves. And it was said, and here's the time, call the radio station up, make them play the tape if you have any questions. And that really moved a lot of people, and that's pretty much what we've done since, just hear the quotes. Is exactly what is said. And, you don't have to believe me, you can find out for yourself and then make a decision.
A lot of mornings, my buddy Jimmy, he's a bus driver, so there's a lot of days he'd be off during the week too. When I'd be off in the mornings, he'd come over in the morning. He'd get up when his wife got up for work and come over to the house, and we'd sit around, listen to Stern, and hang out.
Although contacting advertisers was proving successful for the Citizens for Better Broadcasting, many companies ignored the group, and it became apparent that there definitely was a part of Richmond who not only enjoyed Stern's show, but also didn't agree with the group's approach.
I would have, been happy to just turn the dial if I thought that he would just go away that way. But I think that you have to stand up and refuse to tolerate certain things in your community. And Richmond is a conservative community. It's a great place to raise your children. Radio is free and it's abundant, and it's in shopping malls and hair salons and businesses throughout the community. And you can just turn it off in your car, and you can just turn it off in your home. You can't turn it off in the carpool's car. You can't turn it off, when you don't know it's playing. And I just think that we shouldn't have to do that.
As a matter of fact, my wife, when he originally came on the air, she'd heard a lot of bad press about him and couldn't understand why I was listening to him. But I had every radio in the house, every radio in the car tuned to him, that she'd get up in the morning, turn on the radio, and she started listening to him, and she really got to like him too.
We did hear that a lot. We'll just change the station, and it's still saying to my children it's acceptable. They think that if it comes over the free radio airwaves, that this is the norm, that this is something that's going to be acceptable. And I did not want to send that message to my children.
Oh, definitely. I'd let my children listen to Stern, because there's really not, every once in a while he might go out somewhere, where it may be not appropriate, but for the most part, my kids, the way I'm going to raise my kid is that, they're going to know what's going on in the world. The way I was raised, or I wasn't sheltered from it. I listened to him as a kid. I was 12, 13 years old when I started listening to him. So, there's nothing really that he does that I wouldn't want my kids exposed to.
In addition to contacting advertisers, Citizens for Better Broadcasting began to send transcripts and tapes of Stern's programs to the FCC to bring indecency fines against Infinity Broadcasting and WVGO, the station airing the program.
The other thing that I found offensive was the fantasy rape sequel that he did about this whole big drawn-out thing about fantasy rape, and saying that that's what women really want, is to be raped, and that they think it's exciting and fun. And again, I would challenge him to go down and I've said to people who've said it's just funny, he was just kidding, and I've said, well, I'd encourage you to go down to the crisis center, you know, where these women are hiding out for their lives, and look them in the eyes and tell them that you think it's funny. And I venture to guess that they're not going to agree.
I think he's a genius, because I think personally that he's an extremely smart man, and what he does and the way he does it, and to be as successful as he is with what he does, you've got to be a genius.
After months of protesting, Citizens for Better Broadcasting began to make serious headway. More and more people were coming to their side, advertising revenue was down at the station, and Stern's ratings began to drop. WVGO took action.
A lot of people will say to us, you know, it's First Amendment right it's his First Amendment right to say what he wants to say and that kind of stuff. But for some reason, we don't have a First Amendment right to be opposed to it. And when we first started to gain some attention, apparently the station that the previous owners were in a real bind trying to get advertisers, and we'd apparently really had a serious effect in the community. And so they retaliated by broadcasting our names and telephone numbers on the air throughout the entire day.
Probably one of my favorite parts of the show, actually doesn't do it so much anymore, is his Fart Man character. I remember one time he called up, I think it was the, where was it, Libya. I think it was the Libya embassy, and threatening to take care of Gaddafi as Fart Man, by blowing farts and everything else like that. I mean, that's another one of his funnier shows. I mean, he calls up and this guy has no idea what he's talking about and how it is going. I'm going to blow you out of the sky with my farts, and it just fart sounds and everything else like that. I mean, it's just the funniest thing.
So our telephone, we had a voicemail box, was just jammed with fanatic calls. We had death threats. We, in fact, had a threat from a gentleman that was later arrested. He was picked up at the governor's mansion with a gun, had just gone by security. And he was, when they went to put him in the police car, his final statement to the camera was, "Howard Stern is the king of all media," as they carted him off to jail. And we had received a phone call from him earlier that day saying that, you know, his boys from New Jersey were going to come and get us, and really, you know, threatened our lives.
Less than a year after the Citizens for Better Broadcasting was formed, Stern's fans received some very unfortunate news.
106.5 is now the buzz. Any questions?
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, that was the message that was heard, as 106.5 became the buzz. With the flip of a switch, Richmond is now left with only one alternative rock station and no Howard Stern.
Well, it made my mornings less interesting. I mean, I had, I listened to him. There's not much on Richmond radio in the mornings to listen to. So, I mean, it took a big chunk out of my day. I mean, that was a highlight of my day, whether it was if I was working the night shift, it was the end of my day, or if I was working the day shift, it was the beginning of my day. I started my day with him.
The day he was taken off the air, I was in New York on vacation. It just sort of happened that way. And I came back and was driving to work the next day, and Howard wasn't there. You know, tried the dials, and he was gone. And
my listeners should have taken to the streets and started screaming, or they should have done like the LA riots. Just gone out and wouldn't that be great?
A buddy of mine, Jimmy, who he'd usually come over in the mornings and hang out, and we'd listen to the show. He came over and said, "All right, put Howard on." And I said, "He's not on anymore." I'd seen on the news that morning that they had pulled him off the air. And so we're sitting around and we're like, this all stinks that, Howard's been pulled off the air. What are we going to do? So we decided to start an organization called the Citizens for the Return of Stern. Started right there in the living room with me and my buddy. And I wrote up a press release and kind of got things rolling.
We've been in contact with individuals in different markets and are working with them to help them do the same thing in their area, giving them pointers, helping them with whatever they need help in. We
had about 40, 50 people together. We put out flyers. We got petitions going. We got advertisers, businesses who would be interested in advertising if Howard came back on the air. And we're still working on that, trying to get him back on the air here in Richmond.
we're currently trying to contact someone in every market that Howard Stern's show currently airs. And so far we've been quite successful.
You know, what was a loss there. Fortunately, I'm able to, on clear days, get a station out of Norfolk that carries him, Norfolk, Virginia. And I could pull him in on clear days. But if the weather's overcast like it's been the last couple days, I can't get him in.
Stern's removal from Richmond was not the end of the bad news for Infinity Broadcasting. In early 1997, the FCC began to investigate Infinity for airing indecent broadcasts in Richmond, including a segment in which Howard Stern gave the father of a pornographic film star pictures of vaginas to see if he could pick out his daughters.
Jackie said to me, you think her dad, if you showed him 5 pictures of vaginas, could he pick out his daughter's vagina?
Oh, dear.
If I could say one thing to Howard Stern, it would probably be keep up with the lesbians.
The only thing that I really have to say to Howard Stern is good riddance, and if you find a way back into my community, I'm not going away. I will be here to fight that battle again.
Can you give us your opinion on Howard Stern?
I think he's a genius. He's taken capitalism to a new level. A mixture of liberalism and conservatism, bringing with a taste of obnoxiousness. And he's not necessarily an idol of mine, but I have great respect for him because he's a businessman and he's manipulating his own tinge on the society to the way he feels that he can market himself. And anybody who can do that and make the American dream, is just an awesome person, in my opinion.
I think that Howard Stern has the right to say what he wants. I think the fact that he's been making it lucrative says more about listeners and corporations that advertise with him than it says about him. If America was on the track it should be, Howard Stern would be the biggest failure on American radio.
I mean, you can't discuss morality or integrity with a money-making machine. There's no such animal. What's that word? It's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist.
Well, who's controlling the airways? I really don't know anymore. I just think that if you are very controversial today and you can sell Kellogg's cornflakes, or you can sell Snapple, or you can sell any kind of a meat, they say put them on.
The strongest word in the English language, and this is what this country has lived by, is greed. G-R-E-E-D. That's the moral standard. You know, I got mine, up yours, Jack.
There was the day when things were much different than they are today, of course, but only people who are old recall those days. I don't even recall some of them because I haven't been here forever. But in sometime around 1920, there was a then famous motion picture comedian named Fatty Arbuckle. He worked mostly in silent films, and he was popular, successful. And then he became involved in a tragic case. A prostitute died after apparently having been involved with some sex party where someone, we don't know still whether it was really Mr. Arbuckle or not, employed a Coca-Cola bottle for sexual purposes, and the glass broke and she bled to death. A terribly sad story. Well, simply because Arbuckle was apparently present at the party and might have been the guilty individual, his career was over that day. I mean, nobody took a vote or wrote any memos back and forth. He was out of the business. Nobody stood in line demanding to see his pictures. The American people turned their back on him. The industry turned their back on him. Today, if that were to happen, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Fatty Arbuckle end up doing a commercial for Pepsi.
If there's money to be made, forget morality, integrity, forget that. It's not discussed. It's not discussed. It's how can we do better, the bottom line. That's it. That's it. Protect the investment. That's it. That's the name of the game.
I don't mean to lay the ills of the world at the feet of Howard Stern, certainly, or any shock jock, or any one individual. But the point at hand is that the money that this man makes is his only motivation. He's a very private individual, very quiet individual, I understand, outside of the studio. But when it comes to that studio or his career, bottom line motivation, he will say, do, act, wear anything to make a buck. And in my mind, that's his motivation. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but when we look at the means towards that end of making the money, there are some means to making that money that I don't agree with. Everybody, you know, make as much money as you want to, as long as you're doing it the right way, as long as you're doing it legally, as long as you're doing it without hurting anyone, as long as you're not misrepresenting things. Go ahead and make as much money as you want to. But I don't think Howard Stern can fall into any of those categories.
Well, I don't know Mel Karmazin personally, but obviously he's had a long time to analyze, to think about, to question his own conscience as to why he's carrying Howard Stern and what are the benefits and the negatives of that. And it seems very clear to me, and I think to almost anyone else, that on one side you have profit and power and influence and a degree of fame. That's the positive side of Howard Stern as far as Mel Karmazin. And the other side is what most people believe is a very negative influence on the community, on children. And it seems clear that Mr. Karmazin has weighed the balance and said that money and personal fame and fortune is what's important to me. And he's made a decision to not only carry Howard Stern in New York City, which is of course notoriously liberal and with little or no social conscience to begin with. That's certainly part of our reputation here. I don't think completely true at all, but he's spread it all over the country. And if he could get away with it, I'm sure he'd bring Howard Stern to every hamlet in the United States. And the way things are going, he may succeed in that task. I sure hope not.
I think Howard is definitely one of the most brilliant satirists of the modern age. I would put him up there with great comedian, social observer satirists like Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor. He's right up there.
You know, it's not hard to get a laugh at the expense of other people's race or gender or sexual preference. That's not hard. That doesn't take talent. What takes talent is to keep an audience without getting into the gutter. And I think too many untalented talk show hosts in America are doing all they can do. That is, they're just going to the lowest common denominator and hoping that from the gutter they will get their ratings. Tragically, sometimes it works.
How do you think Howard Stern's going to be remembered, say, in 100 years from now?
I think he'll be remembered as being original, one of a kind, a trendsetter.
He's a brilliant social satirist. Howard Stern has a huge audience because people respond to his brand of humor, and he has lasted as long as he has because he is a brilliant social satirist.
Because the world of entertainment don't respect him. He is a radio man, basically. Okay, he's a shock jock. Don't make any, he's not a big, giant, talented guy out there. He's not the Clark Gable of the movie thing. He is what he is. He is a shock jock. That's his forte. He does it well, become a multimillionaire.
You know what he's like? Howard Stern, he's like cotton candy, you know? You ever get it? You know, well, it was good. And, well, what happened? It was nothing. Where did it go? Yeah, he's cotton candy. Howard Cotton Candy Stern.
I think the overall effect is to promote bickering as opposed to a kind of harmony. And in that respect, I think he uses his radio pulpit wrongly. People with that kind of broadcasting power could use it for something good and still be entertaining.
But ultimately, it's the American people that are going to decide what kind of culture they want to live in, what kind of culture they want to their children and grandchildren to grow up in. And if they want a culture that largely reflects the mentality or lack of it of Howard Stern and the pornography industry and the worst of the television and film and music industries, then that's a culture that they can choose.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm doing a independent documentary film, and I just...
What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to leave now, and you're going to have to call and make an appointment. Right now I'm in the middle of doing the show, and I don't have any time to talk to you guys today.
I'm just wondering if you can make a comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit.
The truth is you shouldn't even be up in the lobby.
I know, but I'm just wondering if you can give me a comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit. Hello? Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit? Comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit? You want to say something about Miami? We're from Miami. Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit against Kennedy and Howard Stern? Can you give us just one comment about the Debbie Tay lawsuit?
Why can't I get in today?
Can you give us just one comment about the lawsuit?
Help me out, Jim.
Go outside and wait out there. Come out there.
I just want to ask Howard one question.
Just appreciate if you go outside and wait at the top.
Can we just get one shot of him and ask him any questions at all?
No, not right now. He's got to do a radio show right now.
Can we just get, it'll only take 30 seconds. We just want one question.
Just wait at the top over there, please. Appreciate it.
Can you ask, we just want to ask a question about the Debbie Tay lawsuit that was filed against Kennedy.
Thank you. You want to go wait up on the top, please?
All right, can you ask me nothing?
Could you wait up on the top, please? I appreciate it.
All right.
Just ask you to wait at the top, that's all. Would you wait at the top, please?
Well, we paid money.
The car's not in there. The guy's in there, okay? I know the car's in there. Could you wait? Do you want me to call the police? Is that what you want me to do?
I just want to ask Howard one question about the Debbie Tay lawsuit.
I asked you nicely to wait up at the top, please.
Is there any way you could just ask him?
No, he doesn't want to answer any questions right now.
It's just one
He has a radio show to do right now.
Just one question about the Debbie
Wait
Tay
at the top,
lawsuit.
please?
So he's not going to answer?
No, he's not.
Howard, can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit?
Yeah.
Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit?